So gamers are dying out.
Sometimes things feel different, but you can't quite put your finger on why. Well, today you're going to find out why, because gaming has changed. We've got new data that suggests 93% of kids prefer playing games on phones. Not PC, not console, phones. So,
Okay, but they're talking about kids. So, kids right now they're growing up on tablets and they're growing up on phones, but like they understand like what it's like to play on a console or a PC or anything like that? Like I feel like they use the word kids. When more and more, I think that gamers are more adults now than they ever were. I feel like the age is going up for gamers rather than going down. So using kids kind of doesn't really like give you good data.
I remember your boy Wyatt Cheng. Don't you guys have phones? Oh dear, turns out he was a little bit prescient. But here's another aspect to it. It's how these kids engage with games. Here's a quote. They no longer identify as gamers. They identify as players of a specific game. So it's not that games are a medium that they like, it's that they play Roblox or they play Fortnite. So directionally, based on the real trends that we're seeing, the future of gaming looks like it's people who are fans of one game that probably play it on a phone, which is a bit weird. I don't like it, and it raises a big question. What does it mean for people who prefer what I'll just call traditional gaming experiences? Maybe people like
Yeah,
you and
let's hear
me.
this.
Okay, so in our last video, we looked at gaming's past and compared it to now.
Who is gaming for? This is what I'm talking about. Like gaming is for the older generation. I mean, it's for everybody, of course, but I feel like it's normal, for people older to play video games and I feel like games are a little bit more catered to them. An example is I work with somebody who I told them that I play games and they're older. They're like almost 60 and they were like, games, like you're playing video games, you don't have something better to do with your time? And whenever I told him that I play games to stream them to people and people watch them, he didn't even understand the concept of it. So and then I told him like, hey, I make a couple bucks here and there playing video games, and he actually asked me, do I gamble in playing video games? And I was like, no, I just people sometimes give me money when I play games, and I also get ad revenue. So I introduced him to this whole new idea he'd never heard of. But right now, when I'm 60 years old, gaming is still going to be something that I know, and I feel like, uh, you know, the older generation, like we're the gamers. I'm not sure how things are going for kids nowadays, but with them, for them saying that kids are growing up to play specific games and a lot of them on their phones, that's because they're kids. But you give them time to develop their like gaming habits, and I feel like they're going to expand and grow to play other things, especially you know like PC games where you can have this library of games to play, on high specs, and it beats out consoles. But anyway, let's continue the video.
And we talked about the 1983 game crash that leveled the American games industry. It set so many standards for where we are now, but there was a side effect that we didn't talk about, and it's one that's key to gaming's future. You see, when games resurged in America post-1980s game crash, they were sold as toys for children, and that decided the marketing for like the next 40 years. The medium literally grew up alongside its audience. You had Rob the Robot marketed to young boys. Then came G4, Tony Hawk, Call of Duty for the cool teenagers. I was a cool teenager, totally. Now, of course, what do we have? Well, we've got cinematic sad dad games like The Last of Us. Yeah, it's grown up with us. I'd absolutely say gaming has always been for everyone. Anyone can pick up a game. A Nintendo game is an example. But the culture and the marketing, not so much. It has been targeted. And I want you to think about Battlefield 6 and how it just got revealed. Because they unironically played Limp Bizkit. Yeah, Limp Bizkit. So, go take your medicine if you've remembered this track. And it does kind of show us something. The culture and marketing around the game industry hasn't changed with technology. They haven't changed with demographics. The kids of 2025, they will not be impressed by Limp Bizkit selling a game in the way that maybe the target audience of Battlefield 6 will feel nostalgic.
But that's what I'm talking about. The people who are going to be targeted by Limp Bizkit playing in this game are people like me, who are older gamers who love these kind of games. These kind of games are made for me. They're made for people who are somewhat older and love playing video games. And sure, kids are going to like playing these games too, but I just kind of feel like they're not the target demographic. And that they, them putting Limp Bizkit in this game is an example of targeting older gamers who still love to play games and continue to play games.
Especially one that needs a $600 console. And why would they be? They have thousands of experiences on their phones. Experiences that are, to them, just as entertaining.
And I don't necessarily care to play Battlefield 6, but the just the fact that they have Limp Bizkit playing in it is just, I think that's super cool. Like when if I had heard that trailer, I would have been like, "What? That's so cool!" They care about the older gamers, or at least they're trying to get my money anyway.
Should I say, to their brain chemistry and systems are just as engaging. Personally, I think there's something to be said for the depth of an experience. But basically, that's what they think games can and should be. And now we've got data, we've got stats to back it up. And, well, take your Vicodin, because this is kind of going to hurt. IGN's State of Gaming report frames this as a generational shift, and it does go along with a lot of other data that we've seen. Essentially, Gen X and millennials think of gaming in terms of platform loyalty. That's, the 70s through to the 90s generations. So basically, most of the people watching this video, at least per the demographics I see on YouTube, we're no strangers to tribalism in gaming. That's why we...
Platform loyalty and millennials and Gen X is, I feel like, on the decline. I was very loyal to Xbox for a long time, and they continued to disappoint and basically just stuck a middle finger up every time they did something. And eventually I went to PC, and I mean, I'm loyal to PC, but I mean anybody who gets to PC, they just know that it's the best place to be. I wouldn't exactly call it being loyal, but just understanding, that you're playing on something better than you can get anywhere else.
Have a console war or a PC master race. But distinctions between platforms
Yeah, okay.
are, of course, completely breaking down. We see that.
Sorry, I guess I was proven wrong.
I mean, the need for a
I'm a
platform is
loyalist.
kind of disappearing. We see that in cross-platform games, but younger generations simply do not engage in the same way whatsoever. Here's some stats to make that make sense. 93% of under 13s prefer playing games on their phone. So that's the 2000s to 2010.
But see, they're talking about under 13. They're just developing their gaming habits. I mean, they still suck at games. Well, actually, no, 13. They're probably actually insanely good at video games. But I mean, they grew up as kids. Probably holding phones in their hands and playing on tablets, and that's how they started playing games. So of course, at 13, they're probably going to still be doing so. But give them time. Let them get to be 18 to 20 years old, and they're going to want a console, they're going to want a PC, they're going to want something better than a phone. It's not about them preferring the phone, it's just that that's what they know.
Generation. The cooked generation. Only 15% prefer a core PC. Which, of course, is very sad. And by PC, it's probably a laptop. Even 32% of millennials now prefer playing on phones. I have to wonder if it's because, well, the torment nexus that is called the world has cooked all of our brains to the point where that's really all that we can latch on to. Convenience. But for those numbers in the 80s...
Yeah, so, I mean, it is a convenience thing. I mean, if I'm out of my house, I don't have my computer with me, and if I wanted to game, I would game on my phone. I don't game on my phone. I mean, phone gaming is not something that I care about or understand fully, I suppose. I don't know. I'm just so used to games being, terrible on video games. Maybe, or I mean on phones. Maybe they're good. I don't know. But When I want a game, I come home and I game on my computer. When I'm out of the house and I just have my phone, I'm not gaming on it.
In the 90s, well, that's what those people have grown up with. Now, this graph from Matthew Ball's State of Gaming report does help to explain everything as well. Let's look at Roblox as a case study, which of course does mean content warning. Get ready for some real goddamn sheer horror.
Before we go any further, sorry I'm pausing so much, but actually, something that makes a lot of sense for kids to say that they prefer gaming on their phones or their tablets is Roblox itself. Because Roblox, let me see something here. Roblox number of players. So Roblox player count updated 20 minutes ago is 10,641,226 with a all-time peak on August 23rd of 47 million. So you have a huge number of players that are playing Roblox, and guess what it's available on? Your phone and tablet. And guess who probably is the majority of those players? 13-year-old kids.
Xbox has existed since 2007. That was the first full year of the Xbox 360, PS3, and the Wii. But it didn't take off properly until 2016. It didn't really explode until an audience fluid in tablets began playing. And then the pandemic kind of changed everything. Mobile play massively increased, but here's the key difference. Unlike the rest of the industry post-pandemic, Roblox kept growing. Yeah, so you know the way we talk about the games crash and all that stuff? Well, maybe that happened in some places. Roblox, it's the one place where those trends actually held. And it's outperforming everything. This one's crazy. Grow a Garden has the highest concurrent user base ever of a game, with 21.3 million players. It was made by a 16-year-old in 3 days. So, you know, compare your multi-hundred staff AAA studio to a 16-year-old in 3 days. And
well, this also kind of goes to show that, like, there's a decline in AAA games. I mean, AAA games, they spend 120 million, $200 million on making a game, where they're focused so much on, you know, the graphics of whether their hairs, you know, are all individual and you could see them blowing in the wind and all that stuff that we don't care about. We'd rather have gameplay than these insane graphics, but they spend all that time on those things that they lack, you know, story. They don't even focus on gameplay as like the staple, you know. It's like that's like comes later. But then you have these indie games, and you had a kid make this game in 3 days, and it turns out to be better. It's because so I'm sure in this game there's this trend with games that are good, like Mega Bonk just came out. There's all these games where basically the goal of the game is to just have a high number. And I'm sure that Grow a Garden has something to do with growing a number to be bigger. If you use that and you have decent, you know, game mechanics, doesn't matter how good your game looks. Nothing's going to look good on Roblox. So you make a good game and people are going to play it. It doesn't matter how good it looks, as long as it's fun to play.
And feel sad. And that might sound alarming. It is alarming. Is this where gaming's going? I mean, we're already seeing Sega and Starbreeze licensing official games in Roblox. Like a Dragon, Payday, those are in Roblox. You could think the industry will coalesce into platform agnostic mega games, that kids will grow up with them as basically second homes, and that those will wipe out everything else. And I get the fear, and I know why the fear-mongering can work, and there are some things to be afraid of, but the thing is, that's already how the games industry works. And I'd say we're already feeling some of the downsides. So what if I told you that Call of Duty and Counter-Strike are basically just Roblox, but for boomers? I don't know why I'm saying Call of Duty and boomers. Let's say Counter-Strike. Yeah, CS is boomer Roblox. Now, it literally isn't in many ways, but what it is a mono game. Because for many of those people, that may as well be the only game that they play. On our other channel, I cover a lot of World of Warcraft because it unfortunately got its claws into me when I was young, and now I can't escape. And to many people, World of Warcraft is basically the only game they need, the only thing they play. Now, every month, we get a new report from Circana, right? This is their engagement report. And every month, what do we see? We see the same 10 games report the highest player counts, console and PC space. Now, sometimes
Can't imagine Call of Duty is going to remain high much longer.
a cool indie like Peak will punch through, especially in PC. And looking at Matthew Ball's work, he has found the same pattern since 2021, where on PC, 5 games make up 30% of total playtime. Those games are COD.
Yeah, Fortnite is probably going to be there for a long time. Call of Duty, I don't see it staying on that top 5. Minecraft, of course. I didn't know Counter Strike was so big still. I mean, I was never a Counter Strike player, so I guess that's probably why. Also, League of Legends, I'm surprised.
Counter-Strike, Fortnite, League, and Minecraft. The top 10 games, those eat up 50% of playtime on average. What that essentially means is massive concentration. But on consoles, things are even more concentrated. It takes just the top 5 games to hit 50% of total playtime. Those are COD, FIFA/EAFC, Fortnite, GTA, and NBA 2K. The top 10 reach 60% of playtime. So
FIFA is the top in the top 5. How many times can you play a soccer game or a football game? Sorry, how many times can you play that game? It's the sports games to me are the most repetitive games ever made. It feels like a dungeon crawler, but you go through the same dungeon every time, but less content. But apparently, I mean, people love it, I guess.
So, where does everyone else live? The answer is in the margins, 6.5%. What is that number? This will shock you. That is the total playtime for newly released games in 2023. And it was a good year. Just
Starfield
4 games took
obviously
half
shouldn't
of
have
that
had
6.5%,
much of that
which were
high.
Baldur's Gate, Starfield, Diablo 4, and Hogwarts Legacy. They're strong
I'm responsible for a lot of that Baldur's Gate 3.
games in there, yet only 6.5%. Why? Well, it's because only so many people are willing to play those new games. Because much like the kid who only plays Roblox, or maybe the teen who only plays Fortnite, a lot of people, they only play COD, they only play EA, they only play CS. And Newzoo's 2025 report shows something that's also interesting. The number of people playing just 1 to 3 games per year has actually increased consistently over 4 years. That's across Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox. And the times where people do play more games, those are just when AAAs have a bad year. And that is the closest correlation they've found.
AAAs are starting to have bad years every year. Like I feel like the AAA the reign of AAA games is coming to an end. I want to see more indie games. I want to see more games like Expedition 33 that outperforms every AAA game, and they sell it for $50. But it doesn't even have AAA budget. I kind of want to see more Expedition 33s and less, Call of Duties and whatever. Which I don't even know how they get the AAA. They're AAA games, but they're just complete garbage.
Of that 1 to 3 game group in Steam, the majority play Counter-Strike, 37%, or Dota, 10%. So even then, it's still very much a case of mega games. And what we see here is it's not just the kids. No, it's actually the way that multiple industries within the games industry have went. Most players have their game. They might try something else, but they very often don't, and the numbers back it up. Now think about kids playing games on their phones, or teens playing games on their phones. What does that mean for the next generation? What does that mean for people who, according to this research, do play a lot of games and are responsible for, well, at least in Roblox, one of the things that's holding up game industry growth, like literally pretty much the only thing that has continued the COVID trends that all the investor types hope for? Well, those people don't think of themselves as gamers. So what does that mean for the next generation of games? You may have heard of the now departed investing legend Charlie Munger. One of his good lines is, "Show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome." And what these reports show us is that the incentives are changing because the audiences are changing. Companies that need a larger audience we'll need to meet people where they are. We're seeing that games like Genshin and Infinity Nikki look like Ubisoft-style mega games, but they're launching across console, PC, and phone. Where Winds Meet does the same. That is the new priority. And it's why PlayStation and Xbox both chase subscription models. Different approaches, but same goal. These audiences expect instant access to huge libraries of games, not individual purchases. And this trickles down into design decisions. Take a look at EA's releases this year. Battlefield and Skate are effectively franchise revivals. They are legacy games coming back for an aging audience who loved them, along with some limp biscuit to handle the marketing. But they're different. And honestly, in an exciting way, because they are both launching with user-generated content tools. Often I think of UGC and I think of some bizarre, skibbity situation with a lot of very vibrant colors that makes me feel old and confused happening in Roblox. Well, what does UGC mean for something like Battlefield? I'll tell you what it means. It
makes me think of Halo 3 Forge mode.
Extremely impressive shit, at least based on what we've seen from BF6 so far. So it could very much be that those dynamics work for the audiences of those games, and that if done right, those games could see growth in a similar-ish way.
Did Skate 3 do good? I feel like it flopped or something. I don't know.
And there is some precedent as well. It's a little thing that we call the modding culture of PC gaming, right? Pretty big. Just that this time it's framed through Roblox's horrifically predatory ecosystem, one that uses kids to generate infinite revenue. Yeah, moral issues very much.
Yeah, I have nieces who are like, "Hey mom, can you buy me Robux?" All the time.
Exist. God damn, what a business model. Turns out just child labor, that's where it was at, all the time. Child labor, parents' money, what could go wrong? Now this demographic change opens audiences up to new sorts of experiences. These kids find new modes daily. They play new games daily within their Roblox. Maybe to them, they have an incredibly diverse gaming library and are playing new things absolutely all of the time, in a way that you or I maybe don't, because firing up a new indie game, learning a bunch of new systems and all of that legit just takes brain effort. I mean, for a simple example, it's no wonder that systemic, experience-driven games like Peak or Lethal Company take...
I feel like if you don't want to play other games because you don't want to learn the mechanics of another game, you're just lazy and your brain sucks. Just play the game and learn it. It's not that hard. It takes a few minutes to get the controls down, and learning new mechanics for new games only, broadens your skill set. If another game comes out with those mechanics, then you'll understand them better. I just think it just sounds like laziness to me. I don't know. Sounds weird.
Off and then get microtransaction-filled clones in Roblox to get.
Also, I love playing games that have nothing to do with microtransactions.
That parrot money. But certain games simply
Which
don't
is what indie
matter
games are.
to this changing audience. Because so far in this video, we've not talked about linear single-player narrative games, which so far do seem to be limited to sad dad games. They just aren't in the equation here. Even though I'd wager those are the games that most people watching this channel care about quite a bit indeed. That might be a shocking thing, but it might be the best thing for the games that you love. Okay, think of this. The highest rated network broadcast of 2024 was Tracker. It got 11.34 million views. High Potential and Matlock Revival followed, all exceeded 15 million viewers. Massive successes. But the market is so big that you may not know about them. I literally did not know about any of those things until I came upon doing this video. Now, those shows massively outperformed Emmy-winning things like Shogun, The Bear, The Traders, Hacks, and all of those were outperformed by Squid Game and Netflix, which itself was outperformed by TikTok and social media. But it doesn't mean those experiences are being wiped out, and I think that's where we're getting to in games. When great games release, they aren't trying to appeal to everyone. They are absolutely maxing what they should be as a game for their people. And if that is so good, it can expand its audience, then we see these games grow, and very often grow massively via viral network effects dynamics, like say with Lethal Company. And thinking of critical and public consensus, Expedition 33 is incredible. It is a
Nope,
top runner for
there
Game
it
of the
is.
Year. But if you look at top selling games of the year and top engagement charts, you won't see Expedition 33. It is in there. 1 in 20 players on Steam or Xbox played Expedition 33 at launch, according to Circana, slightly fewer on PlayStation. But what we've learned is the market may be expanding and changing, but even now, in an industry that rewards big games and entrenched audiences, those games can still be made. They can still be enjoyed, and that is what matters. And I think the biggest lesson of all of these is that execution matters and that focus matters. Expedition 33 is everything you would want with nothing that you would not want for a game like that. It is not a bloated, shambling mess, saddled by having to find meaningful work for a production crew of 300 people. And funnily enough, that might mean that it's well executed and that there is strong focus.
That's exactly what I was talking about. It's not made by a AAA publisher, and they made it for players who love those kinds of games. They're not trying to they're not trying to get mega ultra rich. I mean, they're going to make a lot of money on it. They're selling it for $50, But I feel like the publishers who made that game care about the players, and they're not just out there like trying to get microtransactions and focusing on creating that kind of content when they could just create a real good game and that's it. And then you sell the game and you make your money that way.
I think that is going to be the way forward for the sorts of games that many of us would be.
Let's see more $50 games.
Going to stop seeing. Now, in this video, you've learned how the gaming market is changing. The demographics have completely shifted. Even how people identify within games has completely changed. And combined with the layoffs, may have you thinking there's a big old game crash around the corner. If you want to learn about that, watch this video next.